Yesterday, Sayadaw explained that the yogi who practice Vipassana meditation should be mindful in every posture, walking, standing, sitting, lying. One should be mindful apart from sleeping hours. The person should be noting every arising object, every bodily action, every feelings and sensation, every mind and other general activities such as seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, knowing. Yogis should be noting these objects with aim and effort according to the teaching of the Buddha. As a monk should observe the sila, the precepts, refraining from wrongdoing by body and speech. As a lay person should observe at least the 5 precepts, and if the person can practice Ajivatamata Sila, the right livelihood, as the 8th precept and the 8 precepts. Whether a monk or a lay, one should observe the Sila so that the Sila will not be withered or broken. And also there should be restraint of the senses, eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind, so that the defilements will not arise. And the yogi who is practicing should be mindful of whatever object that arises, and yogis should also be practicing restraint of the senses. And yesterday, Sayadaw explained, yogis are endowed with Cetana Sila, as there is the volition that one would refrain from unwholesome things, one would refrain from wrongdoing, even if the person comes across circumstances of transgression. There will be Samma Vaca, Samma Kammanta, and Samma Ajiva, right speech, right action, and right livelihood. In this way, fulfilling Sila Makkhanga, one's body and speech will be blameless, pure, clean, gentle, and lovable. And the transgressive defilements will be suppressed. So it is a good habit of practicing the Sila in order to purify the body and speech and to be free from transgressive defilements. By practicing Sila, one will be free from internal enmity. One will be free from Akusala Vera and Kilesa Vera. One will be free from enmity in the form of unwholesomeness and defilement. Being free from internal enmity, one will also be free from danger such as Attanubhadabhaya, the danger of self-criticism, and so on. As the person's bodily behavior and verbal behavior is pure and clean, it will be Ariya, pure and clean. And also, the society will also be good. When there is purity of body and mind, pure, clean, gentle, being free from transgression, then whenever one thinks of oneself, one will be happy. One will be happy that one is being free from transgression. In this way, one gains the happiness, being free from internal enmity. Such kind of happiness gained by being free from internal enmity, it is a pure happiness, pure and wholesome happiness. But it is only the beginning, it is only the foundation. If the person is not mindful of the nama rupa that are arising at the present moment, there will be lack of mindfulness. As there is lack of mindfulness, there can be greed when one comes across desirable objects. There can be hatred, aversion, coming across undesirable objects. And there will be delusion, not knowing the nature and the characteristics of the nama rupa. So there will be aññānuppekkhā, delusion, not clear, dim and vague about the object. So in this way, these defilements can arise in the mind by lack of mindfulness. One should remove the defilements by being mindful of the presently arising object. Just as illnesses and diseases should be prevented. And if the illness takes place, one should cure it right away. In the same way, one should prevent the defilements from arising, and if the defilements arise, one should cure it right away by being mindful. When one thinks about one's behavior, bodily behavior, verbal behavior, pure, clean, blameless and gentle, one will feel happy. Some of the people think that it is sufficient to fulfill sila only. So one may think that it is sufficient to practice the moral conduct. And if the person is encouraged to practice, then she will say, I don't do anything wrong. Actually, only at the moment the person is refraining from wrongdoing, only his body and speech will be pure. Practicing sila, the person is free from transgressive defilements. And only his or her bodily behavior and verbal behavior will be pure and clean. But if the mind is let go freely, then there will be greed based on desirable objects. There can be anger, hatred, aversion on undesirable objects. Not being mindful of the presently arising object, there will also be delusion. Letting one's mind go freely on the sensual object without any control, with mindfulness, based on these objects, there will be lobha, dosa and moha, greed, anger and delusion. And people are spending much of their time with these defilements without any control. So these defilements keep on arising continuously in great momentum, like a stream of current. Practicing Sila cannot weaken or suppress the defilement that can arise in the mind. So in order to weaken and suppress the defilement, one has to practice Satipatthana meditation, being mindful of the presently arising objects. One should be mindful of the nama rupa that are arising at the present moment in order to discern the characteristics. In order to discern the characteristics, one should be mindful of the nama rupa. To be mindful of the nama rupa, one needs supporting mental strength to note these objects. Every day there are objects, desirable objects, to be seen, to be heard, to be smelled, to be tasted, to be touched, and to be known. If the person lets his or her mind go freely on these sensual objects, seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and knowing, then there will be defilements, and these defilements can also become extreme. If the person does not get the thing he/she wants, there will be longing, craving for these objects, and by getting these objects, the mind becomes elated. Based on good and bad conditions, there will be greed, anger, and so on. And there can also be moha, delusion. If the mind is overwhelmed by these defilements, indulging in these defilements, one can lose the purity of body and speech, committing wrongdoing. One should maintain the quality of one's sila by the practice of sati, mindfulness. So there should be quality control of one's sila, morality, by the practice of sati, mindfulness, so that one can fill up what is lacking. One will also fill up the shortcomings, and one will also rectify, so that the mind will be uplifted. If the mind is let go free, the mind will slip away, the mind will deviate, so that one should rectify one's mind. If the mind is let go freely on the sensual objects, it can become extreme. One should be mindful of every arising object as protecting the mind. Whenever there is seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, bending, stretching, lifting, moving, placing, opening and closing of the eyes, blinking, in all these actions, one should be mindful, having mindfulness as the protection. By having sati, mindfulness, the quality of one's sila, morality, will be maintained, so that one can fill up the gaps one can correct one's weaknesses, and one can rectify. So in this way, one should have mindfulness on every arising object. One should have sati, mindfulness, as protection. Sattarakhena setena samanakato, meaning one should have sati, mindfulness, as the protection. One should protect one's mind with sati, mindfulness. Whenever there are bodily actions, one should note them mindfully, without missing, without failing. And whenever feelings and sensations arise, one should be mindful of them. And when there are the various mental states, one should note them. And one should also be mindful of general activities. So in this way, one should be mindful of all the objects that arise at the present moment. Among the field of objects, Kaya, Vedana, Citta, and Dhamma, among these fields of objects to be noticed, one should be mindful of the presently arising object that is arising. One should be mindful of every bodily action, every sensation and feeling, every mind, every thought, imagination, and every other activity such as seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, knowing. So all these objects are to be noted, and one should be mindful. One should have sati as mindfulness, noting every arising object. So in sitting meditation, one should be noting rising and falling of the abdomen as the primary object. In the walking, one should be noting lifting, moving, placing, keeping the focus of attention on the foot. And in daily activities, yogis should be mindful of every movement, every activity. So if the person is able to note in such a way with sustained mindfulness, the person is said to be practicing according to the teachings of the Buddha. In order to prevent the defilements from arising, there should be protection of sati, mindfulness. Sati alone cannot prevent the defilements from arising. Sati is the chief in preventing the defilements from arising, and there should also be other mental factors that are supporting. When rising and falling of the abdomen arises, yogis should be noting every rising, every falling, without missing, without failing. In order to note the object in time, there should be ardent effort. Yogis should assert ardent effort in the practice, not being slow or sluggish, but yogis should be alert, active in noting the object, and there should be ardent effort. So in order that the noting mind reaches the object, one should exert effort in the practice. And one should also aim and direct the noting mind onto the object. Exerting effort in the practice laziness cannot arise, and the mind is alert, active, ready in noting the object. Noting the object with aim and effort, the mind will be open, blossom, and fresh, and thus Thinamita, sloth and torpor, cannot arise. Thinamita, sloth and torpor, keeps the mind constricted. Aiming and directing the noting mind onto the object, the mind is being open, blossom, and fresh, away from Thinamita. When the noting mind is aimed onto the object, and also effort exerted in the noting, there will be sati, mindfulness, arising. There will be paṭṭhati, sati will be firmly close to the object. Noting the object with sustained mindfulness, the mind will not be scattered, it will not be distracted. Samadhi arises, the noting mind falling calm and collected on the object. Noting the presently arising nama rupa that are arising at the present moment, exerting effort in the practice, the defilement such as laziness has no chance to arise. When the mind is aimed onto the object, Thinamita, sloth and torpor, has no chance to arise. Aiming, directing the mind onto the object, the mind will be open, blossom, active, and fresh. In this way, the defilement will become weaker and weaker. Noting the object with aim and effort, sati, mindfulness, is developed. Having sati, mindfulness, the mind is guarded, protected. There will be rakha varanaguti. The mind will be guarded, protected, being blocked away from defilement, so that there will be safety and security. As the yogi notes the object with its mental factors, aiming, effort, sati, mindfulness, samadhi, concentration, all these vitakka, viriya, sati, samadhi are present in each of the noting. When the noting mind falls calm and collected on the object, the mind will not be distracted, it will not scatter. Having viriya in the practice, there will not be laziness. And when the noting mind is aimed onto the object, the mind will be fresh and alert. Having sati, mindfulness, the mind is guarded, protected away from the defilement, so that there will be safety and security. Having samadhi, the mind will not scatter, there will not be distraction. So in this way, the priyuttana kilesa, obsessive defilements, will become weaker and weaker. As the yogi notes continuously on the object again and again, the priyuttana kilesa, obsessive defilements, will become weaker and weaker. There will be no wish to kill others, no wish to steal, and in this way, the priyuttana kilesa, obsessive defilements, have no chance to arise. As much viriya, sati and samadhi, effort, mindfulness and concentration are strong, the weaker the obsessive defilement will be. Not wanting to kill, not wanting to steal, in this way, being free from obsessive defilements, the mind will be pure, clean, gentle, lovable. The mind will not be agitated by raga. The mind will not be agitated by dosa or moha, and thus the mind is pure, clean, and gentle, and one gains the benefit of practice. As the mind becomes pure and clean, due to the samadhi khanda, due to the development of viriya, sati, and samadhi, effort, mindfulness, and concentration, the mind is free from obsessive defilement, and thus the mind is ariya or parisuddha, becoming pure, high, and noble, and the mind is uplifted. And also there will be the quality of sammadukkhayagami. As the obsessive defilements are suppressed systematically, the person is said to be reaching the cessation of suffering moment by moment in a systematic way. So by the practice of samadhi, there will be the quality of ariya, being pure and noble, and also there will be sammadukkhayagami, as the person reaches the cessation of the suffering momentarily by developing samma vayama, right effort, samma sati, right mindfulness, samma samadhi, right concentration. In this way, by fulfilling samadhi makanga, by fulfilling the concentration group, one is fulfilled with the quality of ariya, being pure, and also sammadukkhayagami, reaching the cessation of suffering momentarily by the practice. In the practice of satipatthana, one should be atapi, one should be endowed with atapa, ardent effort in noting the object. In order that the noting mind reaches the object, one should exert ardent effort in the practice so that the noting mind reaches the object. Having viriya, effort, the effort does not accept the defilement from arising. In this way, effort does not accept priyuttana kilesa, obsessive defilements from arising, not giving any chance for the defilement from arising. In this way, the path of unwholesomeness will be blocked, the path of wholesomeness will be open. And bhavana citta, the developed mind, will arise having sati, mindfulness. As much there is mindfulness, khanika samadhi, momentary concentration, will arise continuously in great momentum. If there is 1 minute of mindfulness, there will be 60 moments of viriya, sati, and samadhi, effort, mindfulness, and concentration arising continuously. And the person will be satima, the person will be endowed with sati, mindfulness. As much the person exerts effort in the practice, the person will have sustained mindfulness. The mind will not go elsewhere. The mind will fall calm and collected on the object. In this way, as there is sustained mindfulness, there will also be samadhi, one-pointedness of the mind, and the noting mind will fall calm and collected on the object. In noting the object, the person aims the noting mind onto the object, aiming directly its vitakka, keeping the mind fresh, open, and alert. Noting the object with aim and effort, the noting mind hits the target, and the noting mind rubs against the object. Noting rising of the abdomen with aim and effort, the noting mind falls on stiffness, tension, movement. The noting mind rubs against the object so that there is no uncertainty or doubt. In this way, the mind is also free from uncertainty and doubt, and the mind is free from kamacchanda, sensual desire. As there is viriya, effort, there will not be kosaja, laziness. Having viriya, one overcomes kosaja, laziness. Aiming, directing the noting mind onto the object, the noting mind will be fresh, open, and active, being free from tinamita, sloth, and torpor. And there will be piti, joy, as the mind is calm and collected. And there will be sukha, happiness. The mind is interested in noting the object. In noting the presently arising object, all these mental factors, vitakka, viriya, sati, samadhi, are all present. They are the mental strength of vitakka, initial application, viriya, effort, sati, mindfulness, samadhi, concentration. There will be piti, joy, sukha, happiness, and the mind is being free from nivarana, hindrances, so that there will be happiness and peace. The mind being free from vyavada, ill will. Having endowed with samadhi sikha, concentration proof, the mind will be pure and clean, and thus there will be ariya. And the mind being free from priyuttana kilesa, obsessive defilement, by systematic practice. As much one practices, there will be samadhi kanda, the concentration group, and there will be arata, being fulfilled or accomplished with mindfulness. And thus there will not be virata, the person will not be slipping away or failing to be mindful. And tomorrow Sayadaw will explain on the Satipatthana jhana. Sadhu, sadhu,